And I just noticed, I just had this deep knowing that, oh my goodness, every step we do in our life is a prayer. Every step we take in our life is a prayer, and everything we do in our life is a pilgrimage. And yes, we can fly across the world and do it at a sacred site. And yes, it can be with his magical serpent, his serpent staff. But also it's us on crutches, hobbling our way to the kitchen.
This is the Miracle Zone.
I ask, I see, I know, I trust, I be.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Miracle Zone podcast. And today we're going to be diving into how do we actually stay in the miracle zone when everything around us is a mess, when it feels like everything around us is crumbling and everything is just, oh, there's so much resistance and so much friction and everything's going wrong. Because it's really easy to stay in the miracle zone when things are fantastic, right? But it gets more difficult to stay in the miracle zone when things are challenging. And as leaders, there's still people we need to show up for. As business owners, there's still team we need to lead. There's still responsibilities. As parents, we still need to show up for our kids, right? And so I wanted to spend some time having a little heart to heart with you about this because I have been in it these last couple of weeks, and I want to share with you and give you permission as well. Because if you're like most of the people I've spoken to in the last couple weeks, we've all been through it in some way, shape, or form. And we're feeling a little battered, a little ragged coming into this time of the year after this wild eclipse portal, these retrogrades. Oh my goodness, so much happening energetically. And so many of us, if you're listening to this podcast, are sensitive to that as well. We really feel the energy of the times. There's also crazy things happening in the world, politically. It's a wild time. And I don't know many people who are not feeling some sort of crunchiness in terms of challenge. And so I wanted to really address that and share some things that I distilled just reflecting on these last couple of weeks and my experience while it's fresh. So grab yourself something to drink. I have my tea here in my love mug. As you can tell, my voice isn't here 100%. It's been gone for almost a week. And so I'll be sipping on this throughout. If you hear any slurping, that's what's going on. And yes, just get cozy. I really want this to feel like we're sitting with each other and just sharing about these last few weeks and where we are. And I wanted to also, before I jump in, invite you and let you know that I am hosting a free experience on the 25th of April. So if you're listening to this before the 25th, check out the links to learn more about it and to join me. And the name of this experience is Resurrected. And it's exactly this. Man, we have been dragged right, left, and center from what's happening in the world to what's happening in our personal lives, what's happening in our health, to what's happening in our business. It's very unique to each person, but I think each of us has been through a lot. And it's a space where we will acknowledge that and create space to acknowledge that and to process this feeling of WTF, what has happened? So we can get from WTF to okay, and now we go forward into this grand new beginning at this time of year, which really feels like the real start of the year, right? And we're being supported into this new energy of a fresh start. But before we get there, I want to really invite you to take the time to sit in this little messy middle between, oh, the yuck, and then the fresh new start. It's really easy to go there without diving deeply into the medicine and the magic that lives in this messy, messy middle part. And so check out Resurrected in the links below. I would love to have you join me for that. So let's dive in. So I was sitting with what's happened in the last few weeks. And let me just recap for you so you have a sense of what I'm talking about, but also so you can reflect on for yourself what has been going on in the last couple of weeks as well, because for each person it's been very unique. So for me, a lot of the friction and resistance that I've been feeling and mess that I've been feeling in my life in the last few weeks has really been related to my physical body. And my body speaks to me very loudly, and it's been speaking to me very loudly. So I've shared on a previous episode that I suffered a foot injury. I fell and I sprained my foot, and I was on crutches for 3 weeks and limping for the fourth week, but happy to be off of crutches. And now I'm almost 100%, but still, it's still a little painful and I can't put too much weight on it. And that's about 6 weeks on now from when it happened. So there was my foot injury. And then I was really excited to be off my crutches. And I was like, yay! I was really excited to finally get out of my house. And then that next day, I actually woke up really sick and I couldn't move with headaches and all of the things. And so I was in bed for almost a whole weekend. I made one exception because I promised my son. For months, we've been counting down for the Minecraft movie to come out, and I told him I would take him and some friends. So I just mustered all of my energy to go Minecraft movie escorting them. And so we did that. And then I was in bed all weekend and it evolved. It was flu symptoms and all of the things. And then my voice went. And although the flu is gone now, the voice hasn't come back. It's been over a week now. And then after that, as if that wasn't enough, because I was excited, yay, finally, I'm feeling healthy, I threw out my neck. So last week, about, 4 days ago, all of a sudden my neck started feeling really stiff. And then I started not being able to move it. And then I started feeling burning pains. And it was so extremely painful. I had to end up going to the hospital just to make sure that there wasn't anything more serious going on. And I had to take a bunch of stuff just to function the last couple of days. And it's been funny because it does give me a bit of brain fog. I don't usually take medication, and so my body's really sensitive to it. So I did have brain fog and drowsiness, and I've been a bit of a bumbling mess the last few days. But yeah. And so it's literally been one thing after the other thing after the other thing. And so I've been limping and then sick and then without a voice. And then I can't move my head. I think now I can finally turn. I'm really grateful. It's about 50% of the movement is back. And today's the first day that I'm really pain free. And I'm excited to come here and share with you what has been coming up and how I've been navigating it. Again, inviting you to reflect on the last couple of weeks and where this has really shown up for you, because for you, it might be very different. It might not be as physical. I hope for your sake that it's not as physical. So I'm going to talk you through these 5 stages that I go through in getting myself from being in the muck of the mess to being in my miracle zone. And I'm going to be totally honest, it's not just like a one-time deal. It's a circular thing. Sometimes it can circle multiple times during the day. But it's just something that I've seen in, okay, how do I be in these situations? How do I stay connected to the miracle zone in these situations? And the very first part is feelings, creating space to really feel what is going on. And I say this because for me, it's really important to create space for this because I'm very much okay, keep it together kind of person. Usually when everybody's falling apart and there's chaos everywhere, I'm the calm in the chaos that guides people through the chaos. And I've always been that way since I was little. And that's beautiful and helpful to everyone else. But it means that oftentimes I have to like get the feeling part of me, get it together so I can be functional in addressing whatever crisis is going on. And because that's my default, I need to create space to actually feel what is happening because it's very quick for me to go into, okay, I'm resilient. I can function. Let me do it. I'll figure it out. Let's do it. And so this is something I've learned over the years and has humbled me very much, and definitely have been reminded of it this time. And even today, I actually went to a session with my somatic therapist, and who's also a good friend of mine. And I booked the session with her because I knew I needed a space to just feel and let myself feel without having to make sense or fix anything. And so I intentionally went there to let these feelings flow because I could feel like, oh, everything getting stuck in there after all these weeks of so much going on and these emotions and feelings that were there. And even she pointed out, I was very quick to go from this is what I'm feeling and this is where I am and really feeling it to the next phase of the session, already getting curious about, but what does it mean? And she really had to stop me and she says, look, Katerina, you're too good of a healer and you're too good of a coach. You coach yourselves out of your feelings really fast and you heal yourselves out of your feelings really fast. But I want you to go back and spend more time there. So even though I knew I was literally going there to be with my feelings, my tendency is still to, okay, feel it. I have a Pisces moon, like I'll easily cry, like I'll feel it, but then I'll move on. And it's no, let's sit there. Let's sit there and like really create space for whatever feeling is there. And so the first thing that I have to remember to do is really the feeling. And so in the last couple of weeks, there was lots of feelings of sadness, lots of feelings of loneliness, lots of feelings of feeling unsafe or just unsupported. I'm a single mother, so I'm doing all of this not being able to walk or drive or even talk while being a mother and not having that support, another partner or anybody to support me in the home with anything. And so lots of feelings of being vulnerable, lots of feelings of being helpless. I'm sure lots of feelings of being worthless too, as it comes to work related stuff and even struggling to cook for myself, right? All of those things. And I had to create the space actively to feel it. Also, because I am a mother. And while I do allow myself to express my feelings and emotions in front of my son, because I think it's healthy for him to see me frustrated and crying and sad. And there were definitely moments where he witnessed that over the last few weeks. I also really have to create intentional space when he's not around and fit a time in my day to just be like, okay, I'm going to just feel now and just let myself go there and feel and cry and let the energy move. So that's the first stage, is really the feeling piece. The second stage is support. So I'm in the place, I'm feeling all these things, and I'm really tuning into what do I really need? What support do I really need? And actually asking for that. And so this has been another edge for me, is asking for support. Again, usually I'm more of a one who's doing the things. And in the last many years of working to be more in my feminine, being more receptive to receiving support, being more bold and courageous to ask for things, being more willing to be needy and letting that be okay. A lot of that has gotten me to a place where now I'm quite good at asking for support, and that hasn't always been the case. And so, in terms of asking for support, some of that has to do with people around me and asking for support with somebody to drive my son to school because I couldn't drive, asking for support with groceries. I asked somebody for support to bring me cat food. I had asked somebody for support to bring me roses because I was stuck indoors for weeks, and it was what my one connection with nature that I really treasure. And so I was like, the only thing I want right now is roses. Please bring me roses. Asking for support with firewood because it was quite cold, and starting a fire, asking for support. So with some very basic things, asking my son for support with a lot of things. He was cooking a lot more meals and supporting me with that. And then asking for support from, I mentioned today, I went to my somatic therapist, asking for support Also booked going for support to figure out what was going on with my foot. So medical appointments and osteopath. Yesterday I went to the osteopath. It was amazing. Also able to support with my neck. So asking for support in that way, connecting with friends and family, asking them for support. I've called my sister crying in the middle of the night because my neck was hurting so much. And she knows a lot about neck injuries because she's had a lot of challenges with her neck too. And so having her help me figure out what to do with myself in the middle of the night because I can't go to the emergency room because I have a kid sleeping in the other room, but my neck feels like it's on fire and there's so much pain. What do I do? And so asking for support from family, asking for support from team to get things done, asking for support from the earth sometimes, right? Sometimes being on my hands and knees and asking for support and guidance from my guides, from my guardians, from my ancestors, from whoever I feel in my heart is really able to support me in this particular moment in time so that I feel really held and I don't feel like I'm alone and isolated and doing it all myself, because that's actually not true at all. That's just a story that I can easily fall into. And asking for support and opening to receive. And it was beautiful and such an edge to receive so much generosity from friends, from family, from others around me. Having a dear friend of mine who brought me warm socks and brought me various meals out of the blue. She was just popping up and dropping things off for me when I couldn't move. And just thinking about it, my heart is so full. The amount of beautiful generosity that I was able to receive because I was able to ask for support. And sometimes I didn't even need to ask, just being open to receive. Things started popping in. I had random kids from the neighborhood bringing me flowers because randomly they saw a flower and thought of me without even knowing I was sick or just struggling with mobility or anything like that. Just really beautiful synchronicities. And the second step is really this support, asking for it, even if it feels edgy, especially if it feels edgy, to ask beyond your edge and just use it as a way to practice that receiving muscle. The third stage is really centering and connecting with what is true. And so what that looks like for me is I'll usually close my eyes and just come into my body. And it'll look different every time depending on what's actually true for me. But what this can look like, for example, coming to center and reconnecting with truth. So I'm just placing my hand on my chest, and my left hand is just on my abdomen where it feels good right now. It's more my solar plexus area. And just connecting with the earth and really allowing myself to feel the earth and the truth that I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm on the earth. Bringing my inner child into my arms and just holding her. We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. And then moving into my womb space, just visualizing that space and really feeling that I'm held, remembering that I am whole, and I'm held in this beautiful womb space of the Great Mother, and just allowing myself to feel that holding, that I'm not here alone, that I'm held by the earth and the cosmos and the cycles and the seasons, and I'm held. And then I move into my heart and I just feel into, I'm grateful, I'm so grateful. What am I grateful for? Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful. I couldn't walk for weeks and now I can walk a little bit. I couldn't speak a few days ago and right now I have a voice. I couldn't breathe when I was sick and now I have a breath. I couldn't swallow. Oh my gosh, swallowing was so painful when I threw out my neck, and today I can swallow and it doesn't hurt and I can eat again. I'm so grateful. And sometimes it's just these small things, right? And sometimes it's bigger things, but for me, it's been these really little gratitudes. And so just allowing myself to sit in my heart and to feel into, oh, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And just repeating that. Then moving into my neck space, along my spine, just feeling my spine and feeling how supported I am, noticing all the people showing up for me, all the beauty showing up for me, all the support I've requested that is coming in, and feeling Yes, whew, I am supported. I am supported in my spine. I'm supported in my body. Maybe my foot isn't working right now, my left foot. Maybe my neck isn't turning all the way. Maybe my voice isn't working, but I'm supported in my spine. I'm held in this body. I'm so held and supported in this body. And then I move my way up into my crown and I connect with, oh, how much I trust and have faith that everything is as it should be. Everything is happening as it should be. Everything is in right timing. How much I trust and have faith in that, and that does this feel like this is for a reason? Yes, it does in this instance, yes. And what is the truth of that? And just spending some time there, feeling into how much I trust and have faith, even if I don't know it, even if it doesn't make sense, no matter how difficult it is, I trust and I have faith. And that I'm connected to this greater cosmic intelligence, greater cosmic wisdom, and that it does make sense somewhere in the grand picture of things on my soul's journey. I take a couple deep breaths here and just feel this centering into my truth, calling in my energy from the furthest reaches of the room into my center, and just letting that bring me to that stillness and centeredness. Oh, that feels so good to do. That's where I want to jump right away. Without feeling the feelings are asking for support, by the way. I want to just go there right away because it's easy for me and it feels good. But no, I got to do the other ones first because I'll just go here right away and bypass all the other things. All right. So the fourth stage is miracles, looking for the miracles. If there's one thing that I've learned is when there's a mess, there's always miracles, always. In fact, the messier it is, the more miracles they are, if I can just create space to see them. And so there's many examples, more than 10. I was going to say I could count them on my hand. I could count them on my hand and feet and more. So many miracles the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to go into all of them here because that we'd be here forever. We'd be here forever, right? But I do want to share just one example so you have a sense of what I'm talking about is and looking for the miracles. So because I work with the miracle frequency, I can just feel her rearranging things. Even when things are totally messy, I can just, it's almost like little angels or little blessings or little miracles here, there, and everywhere to remind me that things suck. I get it. I see you, Katerina. Things are pretty crappy right now. But you know what? They're just as it should be. And here's a little reminder of that. Here's a little reminder of that. So I see angel numbers everywhere. And I also see miracles everywhere. So I'm going to give you one example. So when I sprained my foot, one of the things that I needed to do was to get crutches. And getting crutches when you can't drive or walk is more complicated than you think, right? When you don't have somebody at home who can get those crutches for you. And when I realized I needed crutches, I had a moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to need to get crutches. I'll figure that out tomorrow. Let me just rest. I just got back from the hospital. I confirmed nothing was broken in my foot. And I was like, I'm going to rest. And tomorrow I'll figure it out. And the other thing I needed to do on this tomorrow, which happened to be a Monday, was to call my son's tutor. He has a reading tutor, and let her know that we weren't going to be able to make it because I can't drive and because I explained her all the things and cancel that session. And so I called her up and I was like, I'm so sorry, we can't come for tutoring because I injured myself and I actually need to go and figure out how the heck I'm going to get some crutches. And she said on the phone, she said, oh, you can borrow mine. She said, oh, you can borrow my crutches. I have two here because I injured my foot last year and you can borrow my crutches. And I was like, oh, that's great. So I just ordered an Uber and we went, and he ended up doing his tutoring session because we ended up going there anyways. And I picked up her crutches, which is also wonderful because I didn't have to pay for them because I am only using them for a little bit. And so I got some free crutches. Yay! And what's even more amazing is as I was getting ready to take him to her to pick up the crutches and for him to do his tutoring session, I ordered an Uber and I was trying to figure out how I'm going to get from my bed into an Uber with no crutches. I was like hobbling on my child, but poor kitty can't carry all my weight. And it was really difficult for me to walk with one foot. And so I remembered that I actually had this serpent staff that I got last year when I went on a pilgrimage to Egypt around this time of year, almost exactly a year ago. And I had been guided to get a serpent staff. And so I have this beautiful serpent staff made of wood that I got when I was in Egypt in Kemet that looked exactly like the one I visualized in my head when I got the guidance to get the serpent staff. And so I was like, oh, I can use my serpent staff. And so I walked over to the place in my home where my serpent staff sits. And I went to grab my serpent staff, and something crazy happened. Next to my serpent staff was this golden walking stick, this golden walking stick that I had never seen before in my life. I've never seen this walking stick before. I have no idea where it come from, where it came from. I have no idea how it got in my house, who brought it. There's literally this walking stick that appeared out of thin air in my home. And this had happened within, I would say, at least maybe 3 or 4 days before I realized it was there, or not sooner than that, because I had been in that area of the house and there was no walking stick there. And now all of a sudden, there was a walking stick that appeared out of thin air. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. I have a walking stick to get me to the Uber to go get my crutches that have been gifted to me from his tutor and from the universe. And then I'm going to be all set. So it was like synchronicity after synchronicity, and some that don't make sense. I still don't know where this walking stick came from. I asked around all the neighbors. I thought maybe one of the neighbors' kids brought it when he came over to play with my son. Maybe it belonged to one of his grandparents or to some Halloween costume. I have zero idea where this walking stick came from. And here it was in perfect timing within days of when I needed a walking stick. So that's just one of so many examples that I have of what has been happening over the past several weeks. And so that's something that I always do when things start getting messy is I make sure that even as I'm feeling the things, even as I'm receiving support, even as I'm centering and remembering the truth of everything, part of that truth is that I am being carried by the miracle frequency. I am connected to the miracle frequency. Miracles are always here for me, and I can find them even in the messiest of times. And so I always look for the miracle. All right. So take a moment as well over the last few weeks and what you've been through and notice if there's anything that's come up for you, any miracles that maybe were really obvious or not so obvious, tiny or huge, but looking for that miracle. And finally, that fifth stage is curiosity. This is when I get really curious about what the heck is going on and why, and I try to make sense of it, not from a controlling place, but from a genuinely curious place. Because one thing I found, and I'm sure you know this, is that there's always a lesson or some wisdom that we can glean from these kind of situations. And so I get really curious about what is the wisdom here? What is the lesson? And this is something that I've been asking again over the course of the last couple of weeks, and different lessons and wisdom has been revealed slowly over time. And I'm sure more is coming through, right? And had I not made space to go through this entire process and to get really curious, I would have missed this wisdom. And, you know, when things are really messy and sucky, thank goodness, oh, it's such a comfort to know at least there's a lesson or I learned something from it, right? It takes the edge off of all of the challenge and all of the suffering. And I think for me personally, and just sharing with you, one of the things that I've really found a lot of lessons around the last couple of weeks have been around what I really truly value. Noticing not being able to walk or not being able to speak or not being able to even swallow or turn my head or body. Yeah, I noticed what I really missed. I really missed being able to go on the earth and outdoors. I was stuck indoors for way too long when I couldn't move, and that was so challenging for me. And I mentioned before the roses. It's I can be in the worst place, but the roses just give me life. It's I think it's the Taurian in me, the Taurus in me. I love to connect with roses and I work with rose medicine and something just about being able to look at a rose or touch a rose or just be with the beauty or smell it just gives me life even when things are really rough. And so I noticed that. I noticed how much I missed dancing. Dancing is a big part of how I move through life and move through things, whether it's challenging things or also just how I celebrate and rejoice. And just how, yeah, it's part of my regulating mechanism in life is movement. And so to not be able to move and dance as much as I normally do just around the home and going to some movement classes that I go to every week, it just felt so constraining in my body. And I remembered, oh, how much I miss dancing. And then I remembered, oh, wait, there's ways I can still move and dance if I don't use my foot. With the neck, it became more difficult. But by then my foot was healed and now I can move my foot easily, but my neck isn't totally mobile, right? So again, also how adaptable I can be in certain things in adjusting, right? I can wait, I can still dance. It just looks different. I can still meet that desire and need of mine in a different way. Noticing what valued. Oh, not being able to swallow was so difficult. It was so difficult. Every swallow that I took felt like a knife jabbing my throat. It was so painful. And that made it really difficult for me to enjoy food. And again, maybe the tourist in me and tourist season is just around the corner. That it was so difficult for me to not be able to enjoy my food because it's just one of the things that brings me so much nourishment in life is the pleasure of delighting in food and eating food. And oh my goodness, not being able to eat like just a little bit of chocolate, just a little bit of chocolate. Right? And so today I'm so grateful that I was able to have a full meal with all the textures and not worrying about it hurting my throat. Again, for me, it was really simple, basic things. For you, depending on what was going on, maybe it's valuing a certain relationship that things have been challenging with, or valuing something in your business that maybe has been more challenging than usual, or valuing some of your clients because things have been more challenging there than usual, right? But I've just gotten really clear on what I really value. And I think that was a big initiation for this eclipse portal that we've been going through and also for the Venus retrograde. So that was one of the lessons. Another lesson, and I've shared this in a previous episode, was just the noticing of that even this is a miracle. Even in this mess, even in even in the worst moments, I really had the sense that even this is a miracle. And I really felt just the miracle it is to even just be here, to even just be alive in these times, and how much of a blessing it is, even though it's crazy out there, with so many souls moving on, so many people passing that I know and that I've heard of, others and friends losing friends, and just what a miracle it is to even be here, even though it's challenging. It's not an easy thing to be here. Just noticing that even this is a miracle, noticing all the little miracles all around me, that even if things are totally messy, it's like, what? This miracle walking stick showed up out of thin air. Oh my goodness. How can I not see the miracle in everything, right? And the last learning that I want to share is really connected to, so one thing that was really interesting when I was reflecting on the serpent staff that I got last year is how interesting it is that I was walking through many temples in Egypt, in Kemet, because it was a full pilgrimage and we went through so many temples. For some of them, I had this snake staff, the serpent staff with me, and I was walking with it actually on my left side through these temples. And for some of the temples, I was barefoot. And noticing how interesting it is that exactly 1 year later, I'm walking also with crutches, also on my left side, also barefoot because my foot was so swollen it didn't really fit in anything. And I just noticed, I just had this deep knowing that, oh my goodness, every step we do in our life is a prayer. Every step we take in our life is a prayer, and everything we do in our life is a pilgrimage. And yes, we can fly across the world and do it at a sacred site. And yes, it can be with his magical serpent, his serpent staff. But also it's us on crutches, hobbling our way to the kitchen to make ourselves some food, or hobbling our way. There's a place that I always go to near the beach here where there's some rock pools, and I always make offerings of rose petals. It's something I do every week at least. Once my roses are complete, I do a little ceremony. I make offerings of rose petals to the waters and to the land. And I wasn't able to do that because I couldn't move. And then as soon as my foot was almost good enough, I went on crutches with my rose petals onto the cliffs to make this offering because I missed it so much and I just really felt like I needed to do it. And needed as in I really wanted to do it, like it really was a deep desire of mine. So I'm hobbling on these cliffs, holding onto rose petals with my crutches to make the offerings of the roses. And that whole journey, if you will, that normally would take me maybe half an hour to go out to the waters, make the offerings, connect with the waters, be really present, maybe meditate. Sometimes I'll sing to the water. Sometimes light codes will come through, light language, and just allow that to come through and have this beautiful moment of connection and gratitude with the earth. Maybe it's half an hour of not necessarily sitting there. I'll feel into how long I want to sit there. Each week it's different, but the process of actually exiting my home and getting to the place is half an hour, about 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. And it took me at least an hour and a half just to get there. It was every step. And what I was hearing as I was taking like step by step on my crutches was every step is a prayer. Every step is a prayer. And everything in life is a pilgrimage. Everything in life is a pilgrimage. And so even these things that we do in our day to day, they're just infused, and it's so easy to forget that every step is a prayer and that everything we're doing, every place we're going is a pilgrimage when we're living a life that's connected to the all, that's connected to the sacred, when we're connected to the miracle frequency, when we're operating in our miracle zone, that it's all just as sacred, just as powerful, and our presence is just as activated as if we are on a sacred site pilgrimaging through temples where others have gone before and where we have gone before in past lives too. And that's some really powerful knowing and wisdom. Again, many of these things are things that I knew, but there was just a next level of learning them and embodying them. And that's one of the things I really talk about when I talk about the Miracle Business Blueprint. One of the pillars there is the energy and energetic embodiment of how we lead and our embodiment of these lessons, right? And so I'm going to pause there for now. Thank you for joining me for this little heart to heart share and really opening up where I have been. And thank you for listening to my froggy voice, is what I've been calling it this week. I'm glad it lasted through this whole episode. I want to invite you to check out the links for Resurrected, for the free experience that I'm leading on the 25th of April. I would love to have you join me. I would love to hear your stories. I would love to hear your lessons. And I would love to come together to really just move through this energy and into a resurrection season. All right, my loves, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the Miracle Zone. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a transmission. And if today's episode and conversation resonated, leave a review and share it with a fellow visionary leader. In the links, you can access my free Miracle Business Blueprint, the 7-part framework I use with my clients to create a thriving, scalable, and self-sustaining business that gives you more freedom, not less. Plus, you'll receive a guided process to identify where to focus first so you can spend more time leading in your miracle zone right away. Let's build the new as a collective for the collective. Together, we're not just creating miracles, we're living them. Until next time, stay in the miracle zone.